Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the desk. I'm going to be your host, Veli, and I'm here with my boys, Bach and Van Silly. And Sentinels on Haven just went up 2-0 on maps against Version 1. Now, fellas, let's break this down a little bit because we actually saw some really fun things there. I'm talking about, Vanity's Astro Wall, B-Main, and everything else out there. Bach, what was your interpretation of map number 2?
I mean, it kind of went the way that we expected it to a certain degree. I didn't think that Version 1 was actually going to put up as many rounds as they did. Just looking at how things went for them the last time these two teams faced. But then you look at plays like this and you can see, like, man, this round, 0.46, if I'm not mistaken, left on the clock after they got the defuse. It shows you how close some of those rounds were actually going in favor of Sentinels. But it was a pretty strong first half showing from them. And again, it's really nothing that we should be all too surprised about. We know what this team can do. And I think the best part of watching this was watching TenZ pop off. TenZ has had a couple of quiet games this tournament, and I'd say this is like a classic TenZ that people look for. And he plays this map so well. No. To be fair, if you look at some of TenZ's games, he's been overshadowed by players on the team.
We're used to TenZ like having ridiculous stats, but it's even out. But they're winning, so that's really all that matters, right?
Winning. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, exactly. No, I do believe for Version 1, though.
Was that the theme song to
It was. It's stuck in my head now. I love the beats, man. But no, for sure, Version 1 for me, to see them get that many rounds is actually pretty good, too. I know for a fact now, or just observing the first two maps, it's okay. Put Bind out of the way. We want to show what we have on the following maps. So getting into Haven and getting to these rounds where they're actually able to come back here once they took the second half was actually really nice to see, because Penny was able to step up, get a couple of frags. They as in Sentinels were able to nullify Zelsis a lot, and they were able to nullify Whippy a lot too, because Whippy playing that Viper on the A side most often with his utility on defender side. Well, as DDK mentioned before, Sentinels just kind of had control of the whole thing, worked towards the B side more on the timings, and that's where it was weaker, because they didn't have enough utility for Whippy on her retakes later on. But when you saw that Cosmic Divide with the Gravity Well from Vanity tied up with the Leer coming out from Zelsis, that was actually really cool to see from Version 1. Now, looking at it in the series, the first two maps are actually picked for by Sentinels, right? Probably that's the advantage that you have coming from the upper brackets. So now you have a chance to choose two of your maps for Version 1, where they're going to play their strongest. Icebox.
What are you trying to say, Van Silly? Are you saying that things might turn around now because
100%.
now Version 1 are playing on more comfortable maps?
100%. This is gonna turn around right now. Version 1's gonna put up an even better fight on the next two maps. I wouldn't be surprised to see a fifth map.
Yeah, the way these teams go back and forth at each other is really fun to watch. I mean, let's talk about the bead takes, for example. DDK was harping on that mid-game when Sentinels were just abusing it with aggression. Then you flip it on the other side, in Version 1, they throw out their nifty strats, and they get wins that way. But heading into map 3 is going to be Icebox. Bach, do you think that this is going to be it for the finals? Or do you think that we're going to see a little bit more, man?
Well, the last time that Version 1 played this map was back in Challengers 1 when they beat Cloud9 to actually make it into this event. So, you know, you got to give them some credit there. They definitely know the map. The problem is that was on a different patch version. That was on patch 2.05. We're on patch 2.07 now. Things have changed, and we all know the way the meta is shifted. We're going to see that Viper Astra play probably. Now, one team that does that really well is Version 1. They seem to handle that role, that lineup, pretty solid, because you do have Vanity and you do have Whippy, who both have that 1-2 punch. So is there a possibility here? Sure, of course. But Sentinels is up 2-0. We know how good this team can be. We've also seen them play Icebox, and they're usually pretty good at it. So it's going to be a pretty tough third map for Version 1 to try to turn things around. It's not to say they can't, but it's definitely not going to be easy.
It's going to be a battle. And talking about Viper, Icebox seems to be Viper Box nowadays in NA. You're going to see her everywhere. Green lines all over your screen, right? But it's time to throw this over to the casters. It's going to be DDK and a guy that when he's not showing off his beautiful chest, he's wearing cool jackets. It's going to be done. You guys have fun.
Oh, thank you, Vel. Yeah, look, one map keeping Sentinels away from sweeping the grand finals, and it goes on Icebox. And Dana, I want to get your thoughts on this because the desk was leaning a bit towards V1, but be honest with me, do you give them a chance here?
I mean, it's they have nice stats, but I mean, they're 15-1, so it's like a clean like 94% or whatever it is on Icebox. But I think as Bok mentioned, this is a map that they haven't played in quite some time, and the meta has shifted a lot since that period. And we do have a lot of concrete data from Sentinels in terms of their performances on this map, and they play very close to all of the top tier teams on this map. So they're going to be definitely much. Presumably, more well versed in as Bok sort of put, the whole like Viper box shenanigans. But again, you never know. They're definitely comfortable with the map, and sometimes those adaptations with Asians aren't necessarily that severe if it's just like some fundamental like principle differences, as opposed to having to learn like loads of different setups and so on. And we've seen that Whippy is very capable on this Viper, so. Yeah, I think this is definitely not a foregone conclusion by any stretch. I think Version1 will have, they will be able to control the game more. The thing about Icebox is that it is much more simple if you want it to be on the attack or the defense, and it can come down to knowing how to play the retake, how to play the for example like just the slow rolling certain sites. Like there's no other map in the game where you can kind of just sit on one part of the map for the entire round, not play a mid or late rounds. That's something that FaZe showed us not too long ago. But with that said, I'm definitely expecting Sentinels to just come in with so much confidence here. We talked about like a potential to see maybe these teams be a little bit loose. We saw that Yoru pick going into binds, so Vanity was feeling something. I'm not sure if it was feeling loose or not, but the thing is, what we've seen now in these last couple maps is that Sentinels are hitting hard. They're hitting very hard. Tens is looking fantastic. Everybody's looking fantastic from Sentinels. They've been a gear above. This is a time for Version1 to knock them down a peg. We're going to see if that's going to be the case here as we move into map 3. The first round here, going into the pistol, and we'll see Version1 on the attack, and this is where we want to see him.
Holy Viper utility around B, man. Look at both those toxic screens slicing and dicing up that area of the map, while really everyone, except Zombs, is playing towards A. And that shit, Shazam just got a good bit of information to understand that that's likely where the play is going to go. You see all of the members of V1 have made their way onto the site. The wall's gone up. Vanity gets the spike down, and it looks like he's going to be able to get away with his life, even though he was tagged up. Now they play around the wall.
A great wall, and Vanity, is able to take down one player. That's sick out of the picture. It's almost a way to use the poison orb to try to conceal their presence, and that's a threat, and the issue is this post-plant utility coming through, and some of these peaks, these headshot angles, are very dangerous to deal with. Penny popping himself up on the post, doing a lot, but it looks like Sentinel's getting some value now, finally able to pressure some of these more forward positions, and it's going down to Storm's 10 HP. There's no time left. He's going to take down one more player, but again, no time left. Reload comes through, but it's Effie's for the frag, and it's the round, of course, for Version1 regardless, as they pick it up.
That was an absolutely chaotic round, and you saw all of that utility. You mentioned the poison orb to hopefully try to kind of keep things under wraps as they tried to get the defuse, but Penny was in a great spot to continue to cause problems. So far up on that 410 that he really didn't allow Sentinels to get to a place of comfort, and even with how back and forth that round went, you saw down at the very last minute, they were so weak. Right, the remaining members of Sentinels were so weak, and time was on their side as well. V1 looking good, they win the pistol, and now they're showing a different flavor already. The same bit of Viper utility from both Vipers, but this time they're pushing in towards B.
Yeah, and this is be such a great spot, especially just because there's less corners and ranges, like short ranges to deal with. It's mostly a long range. Most of the fights are more easily controlled as the team who's playing against the eco, against the pistol. But yeah, if Sick or anybody can find some quick kills before the spike's down, there is definitely a chance. But Zelsus is trying to bring the fight to the opponents here. Straight through, finding a gap, unable to find the shot he's looking for. Some damage is being done here before the spike's being planted, but at the same time, there's still not much to work with between Dapper and Shazam.
No, Shazam does have the Bulldog, and, well, he had it. He gets cleaned up. It's just Dapper alone. You mentioned he's got the Sheriff. He's going to get cleaned up as well. V1 take a 2-round lead. It was slow. It was steady, but they were confident in what they had. They knew what they wanted, and they really get what they're looking for on A.
Yeah, they didn't make the mistake to sort of like commit someone early to try to plant the spike, knowing that as soon as they try to plant that spike, that's when Sentinels would collapse because they know that one player is for that period out of the fight, so they can even up the odds a little bit. But going into the gun rounds here, it's going to be interesting to see if V1 just do what they did on the pistol, because that is pretty effective. You can just make that work. We already talked about it before. You don't have to try to play the mid round and late round if you don't want to. You can just try to keep it simple. Flanking is very difficult, honestly, on this map, and as a defenders, and holding the site is pretty difficult as well. Sometimes you just have to give it and play retake. But with that said, with the mid play here from Sentinels, is going to offer flank possibilities.
Dapper did take some of that space away in the previous round as well, and this time it actually pays off as he cleans up Whippy across the middle of the map. As you said, Tens got in on a little bit of love early on in the round as well to clean up Penny. So now now V1, I mean, they're entirely outnumbered, and that's the thing about this round 2, Dan, is oftentimes you see a team with the 2-0 lead in this round, you're okay with it not really going their way because they have Spectres and, it's a lighter gun situation. You don't expect them to be able to fight the same way back, but Effie's was the only one who didn't have a premier rifle in the Phantom or the Vandal. He had the Bulldog. It was clean the rest of the way.
Yeah, it's definitely scary to have someone like Tens to fight against when he's got that Vandal and he's playing that A side, because sometimes this can come down to a confidence thing on this map, especially because these kind of duels, it's like headshot pixel duels that you can find in all of these like angles across the site. It's really important to be able to create scenarios where the defenders are getting swung on by 2 players at once. Like you want to try to stack the odds in your favor there, because you can do it. You can do it with utility, especially. It's actually harder for the defenders to find some of the favorable fights that they want. So I hope that V1 are not too conditioned away from that A side. We'll see though. They're definitely going to get some good feelings towards this B side. It's a great pick to start things off with, but still, 1 player on yellow, and it definitely does.
Run it back used. Celsius good for 2. Yeah, this certainly went well. You were mentioning hoping that they don't shy away from pushing towards A. Well, they made magic happen on B, and honestly, a lot of it was off the backs of Vanity getting that pick on A as well. I believe it was on to Tens with nothing but a Sheriff, right? Like, you sell that, you leave some of that demand in that area from the defending side, who has to invest that way, not knowing where the hit is. What can Shazam do? On the Jet in a 1v3, has the Blade Storm, doesn't have a ton of time. So you imagine this round will certainly go in favor of V1. Zelsis comes up big for V1, 3 kills on the round for him as they take a 2-round lead.
And that's great. Definitely great for the the confidence game. Good to see them just going pretty hard on the B timing there, and you do want to mix it up a little bit, because you don't want to, like, if you do want to have most of your rounds end up being these A openings, you want to give enough of an argument to the defenders that they can't just for free take really forward position on B long. Now, a lot of teams will try to actually just like default a little bit at the early portion of the rounds to clear B long. You'll get the drone out there, you can peek with it, and it can clear a lot of position. But with that said, we have the push towards A, and Tens again is going to hit. He is going to hit reliably some of these insane shots, and that's an early advantage, which now is compounded even more. Shazam connects too.
V1 not finding any success on the A site. You see Zoms is still playing back towards B as Whippy's seemingly like waiting around to see if the flank is going to come through. But Tens again, man, just continuing to light things up. Reyna, Icebox, Tens, those 3 things, just such a devastating combination.
Sometimes, the positions Tens takes and so on, and like what he's actually trying to do, I'm confused at which game he's playing, if he's playing Valorant or Aim Lab or what's happening, because look at him, he's just standing up there, he just wants to fight. He's completely exposed. He's completely exposed from multiple points of contact here. Yeah, sure, they're 5 versus 2, but he's been doing this in multiple rounds. He is so confident in playing some of these off angles that he can react if he gets caught from a spot that he's not expecting, like that, for example. But he's still going to be taking every fight he can, and he's on Reyna. That's what he's supposed to do, and he's designed for this. Nice couple of kills from Effies, but it will be ultimately the round in the bag for Sentinels, just off of the back of the powerhouses that are Tens and Shazam locking down this site.
And that's just so smothering, because like You swing around, and op shot goes right by you, and you think, okay, he's gonna have to take a step back. There should be a bit of room to breathe, right? In theoretically, there should be a window there, but no. Then 10 swings around with his Vandal to clean things up. V1 still have the lead, though. They're still in a decent spot rifle-wise. They've got the Bulldog here, and they're heavy stacking towards A. Same bit of Viper utility crossing around B. Do you push into 10s again? You're not gonna have a Vandal this time around. Certainly not gonna hurt the same way. Shazam's op is there.
Yeah, they're going to try to make sure that they can just start slowly forcing these players back using the utility. To do that, you can shut down some of these angles. It just takes a flash, a smoke, something. But Shazam still has a lot of area to peek from, and Sick is going to be able to control 410 as well. So Sentinels are getting a lot of fights here before any ground has been gained by version 1. And unfortunately, with that, they will get all these advantageous jewels, and this is not a good look for version 1. We want to see more from them in this sense. You know, Whippy's found some ground here because of all the action towards A, but he doesn't have the spike. Now, Vanity does have the TP ultimate available. He can use From the Shadows to get his way to Whippy, but they spotted Whippy now. So now there's so many mind games, but also, Doug, there's 5 players for Sentinels. They don't have to move a muscle.
No, not at all. I mean, Dan, there are a lot of things that have to go right here
30 seconds left.
for V1 to have a chance at this thing. But I love that, right? Use the Viper's Pit to draw that attention over from the remaining members of Sentinels. Just like, I mean, like Lambs to Slaughter, they pull their way over. As soon as that drops, it was beautifully played. But with 14 seconds left, they don't hear the spike go down. They start to rotate back, and now things are certain. They've gotten the spike down. Whippy's back in a decent spot to cut off any flank. Dan, we mentioned it. There are so many things that have to go right. That ult was certainly a good start, but that's certainly tipping things back the other way. Zom's going to stick the defuse. I don't even know if Vanity can... No, I mean, he's so trapped here. Zoms is just able to take the defuse out. It was pretty for a moment, right? Their ability to manipulate what Sentinels were doing looked real good, but that's as far as it got.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that Sentinels didn't leave at least one player on A, because you have 5 players. And the genius for version 1, though, is that they waited enough time that it suggested that, oh, hang on, the Omen that we saw on A, there's been enough time that he could have rotated. So with the Viper's Pit, they're like, okay, well, he must be on B then. But obviously, you know, that wasn't the case. It was a fake out. So it's a really nice idea by version 1. They almost made it into something, but 3-3 is the score, and it feels like Sentinels really coming back. And again, this pronounced defense on the A side between Shazam and Tens, just the power that they offer with the skill that they have, it feels very difficult for version 1 to deal with, and they're going back to B to avoid it.
Yeah, it's just not an option, right? Dapper this round walling off the middle of the map and taking the space away. So at this point, like, with the lockdown that's happening on A between both Tens and Shazam, there are just not very many options. You see that ult gonna come out. They have to go towards B here. And Vanity's on the other side of the map. Sentinels are once again a step ahead.
Positioning here is such a problem for version 1. Oh, Shazam, he's able to just get so much vision on these peaks. He gets what he wants. He's going to drop down. Sick is there to lend him a hand, and that's the spike now down on the ground with no way to be recovered. Version 1, they got to take these open battles, and as they say that there's no way to recover it, maybe just with the gunfights, they'll be able to do something here. But again, still have to close the distance, and time is against them.
Blade Storm coming out from Shazam. Decent idea of where Vanity was. You saw that smoke come out. As you said, time certainly not on their side. They're going to have to get the spike down here pretty soon. But they're not going to be given that luxury. Shazam goes in aggressive. Penny punishes it, and Vanity's left... excuse me, Tens is left alone. Ten's good for 1. No way, not again. 5 health, dismisses away. Looking for the second. No, Penny's jumping classic of all things wins the 1v1 and gives V1 the lead again.
Oh my god, that was so close. Tens, man, I love that play. The dash with the right click just barely missed. It's so unfortunate for him, but the follow-up was almost good from Shazam. Or rather, sorry, Shazam on the jet. Just so used to seeing Tens on the jet, man. Gets so confusing. But it was a really, really good attempt. And version 1, again, it feels like Sentinels are more dangerous, but they're not getting the rounds so far. So, you got to credit version 1 for that. And they're going to go for what might be a much faster approach here towards this A site. Shazam's on that operator, and that's a problem. Tens, playing by pipes. We've seen how dangerous he is there as well. They have to flash off these angles, and they're doing so quite responsibly to get forward ground gained. And Dapper's going to go down in mid. That's a big problem too. That's a Sage out of the picture. That's a res that cannot be used in this round now.
And there's the question of what's happening across the middle of the map, right? But Shazam getting the first shot with the op. You hear the Hunter's Fury comes out as Penny follows it into the back of the site, but Shazam continuing to cause problems. The Paranoia was there, it blinded him up, but he just narrowly got away. The spike has been planted. They're gonna dash away. The only ult they have is Penny's Blade Storm. Zoms has the Viper's Pit as well. Shazam's op. Seen how good he can be. So while numbers advantage in favor of V1, they're certainly far from being out of the woodworks. There's the Viper's Pit that we mentioned, and because of that, they kind of have to go aggressively here. Vanity's in a great spot as long as he's left undetected, as long as his position is not given away. He may be able to drop right on them, but the tap was there, and it baited him out. Vanity had to go in. He gets punished, and now they're going to try to tap for just a bit longer. Zoms on the swing. Zom gets cleaned up. That high-low stack is so difficult to deal with. Penny gets 3. V1 take the round, and like you've said, Dan, Sentinels feel more dangerous, but V1, the grit that they're showing in this half is very impressive.
And the way they're doing this is quite scary, and it's part of the reason why Sentinels have looked pretty dangerous on this A site, is because some of these peaks from version 1 are drier than the Sahara Desert. It's just like these drying peaks into tents, into Shazam with the operator. It's like they have flashes, but they're not choosing to use them in some of these fights. And hey, it is working out for them in some of these rounds, like that last one. So we'll see if they can keep that going. I mean, they have still a buy to play against. Sick. Pulling out Hunter's Fury. Not able to get the connections he was after. Evius is low, though. You can see the setup from Sentinels right now is a big lean towards B. Playing the retake game on the A side. They've got 10s here. 1-4-10, looking to hold it down by himself. This is, it's Reynos, the agent to do it with, but he's going to get paranoid, and that's going to be good for the kill. Beautiful work there from version 1.
I mean, gorgeous paranoia out of Vanity there. The Gleam thing got to give him entry onto the side, and for them to be able to follow up like that, Penny's already good for 2. Now, there are 2 rifles that remain on the side of Sentinels, but, I mean, they are... Dan, it's going to be so difficult to get into this thing, but Zoms in the 1v3. Effie's is weak. So is Zoms.
6-3, version 1. They're really starting to run away with this one now, and I'm looking to see if there can be much adaptation from Sentinels. Again, the issue on the defensive side here is that you've got really long rotations on this map, and it can be pretty difficult to sometimes know like whether you should play the retake game or whether you should try to stand your ground on this A site. And sometimes standing their ground has worked, but sometimes, not so much. Obviously, we saw a nice paranoia opening, and it was only 10s on the site in the first place. Really? So we'll see if we'll get any kind of a mix-up here. And they're just like holding these open battles. Oh, I love it. They're just holding those long ranges with the Sheriffs. Got to respect it. And out come the knives from Shazam. So there's a lot of danger in this round still left for version 1 to deal with.
That's certainly a step in the right direction. The Marshal's offline. Tens is offline as well. Vanity's going to ult all the way across. Dapper's in a really good spot to play spoiler here, and I don't know if they... Okay, now his position's been given away. Talking about position being given away, Whippy's in a great spot. Good for 1, gets traded out. The res is going to come up as well, and Sentinels got a clear advantage here. Now, Zelsis has the ult, gets cleaned up. And my gosh, Dan, they've done this with scraps.
Ooh, it's going to be a tough one. Zelsis is going to have to win one of these fights. The knives are sent flying. Looking to give Zelsis a haircut. We've got Zoms there also waiting. They've got to go forward and get the spike. And ooh, wow, down on the ground again. Just Zelsis now against 4 players. Going to have to hit some pretty insane shots. But Dapper is ready for it on the back with the frag. That's a thrifty. secured. And that is the kind of energy, that's the kind of round that Sentinels really needs to win to start to turn this one in their favor. Because it has seemed like Version 1 are getting everything they want with these fights.
Yep. You could feel the tide beginning to shift in V1's favor, and Sentinels just kind of stuff it to do so on thrifty fashion. Like that's very difficult to reckon with, being on the receiving end of it. But V1 still have a 2-round lead. They've got decent rifles. Penny's going to bring the Bladestorm into this round. No op in the hands of Shazam this time.
Penny is fearsome. The Bladestorm ready to go. There's the dash.
Whoa.
Ooh, the toxic screen is going to deny him the vision. He's going to try to updraft over the top though. There come the knives. Not going to land. It's instead Tens and Shazam and Sick. All three of them defending so well. Doesn't seem like there's much quarter given at this point, but the 410 position will be won by Effys. He's still holding on to it, but not for too much longer. Sentinels shut it down, and they didn't even get towards a spike plant. And that's definitely looking far more confident now from Sentinels. They're looking for that 6-6.
Dude, Tens and Shazam, like the heroics that they've pulled off on this site alone, right? And if sometimes it's the op in the hands of Shazam, sometimes it's not, but they seem to be able to pull these things out of their hats by themselves. To stuff V1 and the advances that they've had has just been really impressive. Now V1, they still have decent weaponry here, right? Like they're bringing 3 rifles into this thing. They also have the Viper's Pit from Whippy, and they're walking right back into the same place. And Dapper has an op this time around, along with Shazam.
Oh, that's frustrating. Yeah, the double operator is fun.
Oh, wow, that hurts.
Ooh. He alive, though.
All right, now this is a different look. We have not seen Version 1 try to exploit the middle of the map, and Sick just on the other side of the smoke. Doesn't hear him go by, but Zom's waiting for it. Oh, no. He's going to see him, going to get a good chance, but no, Zom's backs off, has to respect the pressure coming in, and Sick good for one. As he's cheating up behind him. They're sitting ducks in kitchen. Vanity's able to push his way through Sick, get the kill he needed, and give them a bit more room to breathe. Zelsus is getting one as well. Shazam's up, good for it. 3v2 in favor of Sentinels. Looking for a bit more, trying to blind fire through the smoke, just narrowly missing. A beautiful headshot again. Looking forward with the op. The op, it does indeed connect. And the Sheriff have the same magic. Vanity, Shazam wins it out of 3K with the Sheriff. 6-6 at half.
Switching sides.
All right, we've got a game on our hands here. Sentinels doing a great job and turning the tide. It definitely was looking fairly grim. It didn't seem like much was working out after what seemed like an explosive start. Where we saw these clips, right? You see 10 standing large and in charge on top of the site, looking for all the frags. And then the story changed pretty quickly after that as Version 1 started to find a lot of success towards B. They started to play their rounds a little bit more slowly. And then suddenly, you know, Sentinels were unable to really post the defenses on this A side as well. So it was just an interesting series of looks on the defense, but ultimately the stabilization did occur, and now Sentinels are going to be on the attack. And I'm really interested to see if Version 1 are going to be able to lock down this A side like Sentinels were able to. Oh, going for that ultimate or straight away.
Have a great crossfire setup to follow the drone in. Bam and Tens both already messing up a couple members of V1 on the side as Tens aggressively looking for more. Reyna and a pistol can be so difficult to deal with, but Effys answers the call, at least enough for now. As Whippy's alone, he's got a classic, but that, my gosh, that's a difficult fight to win.
It certainly is, and well, Version 1 is gonna have to be the hard way. I guess actually you're playing a finals against Sentinels. It's already the hard way, but you know what I mean. It's going to be a Marshall picked up by Vanity, you know, hodgepodge by. They're going to be saving enough in the tank so they can get rifles next round, of course. And, you know, Sheriff is going to be the accompaniment from Whippy to Vanity's Marshall. Other than that, it's a pretty weak buy. Pretty weak in terms of firepower. The drone will come through from Sentinels here to clear out some of these B-long positions. Always good to do that. This is like a really great value from the drone.
And talk about doing things the hard way. Pushing across the middle of the map right into 10s. With the gun advantage, they're going to pick up the spike. Work their way towards B, where Sick is taking a ton of space. Now Whippy, now wise to it. He's going to push some of that back. The wall's gone up. You presume they should be able to get the spike down here. Zoms does just that.
Planted. Your fault.
Oh man,
Enemy remaining.
that just went from bad to worse real fast. Vanity is the last one that remains with 34 health and a Marshall. He took care of Sick there, but Shazam trades him out, a 3K on the round for him. And Sentinels, like, they played that so well. They waited patiently to see if there was any aggression from V1, and then they struck where they wanted.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that we saw them do really well on the other maps too. Just they know how to play those anti-ecos. It takes a lot of experience and discipline to do it correctly, to try to give as little as possible to the opponents. It's harder than it sounds at this level, I have to say. And we're going to see that version 1 on this rifle buy against a lot of the Spectres that are remaining for Sentinels. They're going to be holding onto A. They're going to fight for A here. They're not going to try to play retake. They're playing in forward position. Celsius up on the pipes. Profanity there through the smoke, looking for 2, but he's only going to get 1, playing into the Spectres. This is scary. Ten's got that high position, but he's going to get taken down. Celsius had the counter. Oh, well, there's another counter. The one-upmanship from Shazam. It's looking good.
Looking good again. It's been done with Spectres and a Blade Storm, right? And the V1 like pushed into that. They wanted to fight for that. They walk away certainly worse for wear. Just 2 members remaining for both teams with 1 minute left on the clock. Six in a great spot here, and Shazam has some options with as much time as they have. You could make a compelling case for flipping it, but here they decide to stick into it again with how far up Sick was. They've got room to breathe. They have a decent idea of where Whippy is. Shazam pushing Whippy back. Six in a great spot. Has to be patient. The snake bite comes out. Not going to tag up anyone, and now you see Sick backing off. Does have a couple of shock darts.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, but why need a shock dart when you've got a Phantom? And Shazam looked like Whippy was going to walk right into his crosshair, but Whippy taking the high ground, looking to go in aggressive. He may be able to get behind him. Oh, no. No, Whippy good for it. 8 health, 6 bullets. The 1v1 goes in favor of Shazam. A 4K. Sentinels take a 3-round lead.
That almost got pretty weird. Shazam, so he was just sitting right there in that spot. It was a great position, and what a great entry as well from him with the nice. Doesn't get the follow-up, but with the nice, but you know, he keeps it alive with the Spectre, and it's definitely going to be difficult now for version 1. You know, there's going to be a lot of room to play with for Sentinels. Their economy's going to be growing. You know, Shazam, he's feeling it, and that's always good when you know your Jet player is feeling it. 3 Marshals, let's go. I love this from version 1. It's the Marshal meta. You better believe. I believe. Look at that. How scary.
3 Marshals still online. Celsius has 1. This position's been given away as well, and uptight like this. What have you got in you? Fortunately, the Paranoia and the Viper Wall pushes him back. They're going to rotate around, and Shazam has made his way all the way into A. There's nobody around. He's going to clear every single corner methodically to make sure that it's safe, and Sentinels are going to be granted free passage, safe passage, onto A.
Well, it's like the time in the Marshals is very brief. It might already be an age that's, you know, remember in the history books, but, you know, there's not much that they can do with Marshals in a situation like this, all these close ranges and corners to work against, and you can see they're getting picked off. It's interesting because for version 1, when they see that B-long is suddenly clear after seeing the action there, it does make a lot of sense to not rotate, because there is a world where Sentinels try to bait the rotation and go back to B, and the rotation is so bad for you as version 1 that it's actually a good gamble to take, and it's a nice finish from Zoms for the flawless. And version 1, they're getting close to getting second place. You know, Sentinels have been dominant across map 1 and map 2. There's been a lot of close rounds, but we described it as them having the extra gear that version 1 so far have yet to find. And if they're going to find it, it's got to be now here, because Sentinels are 3 rounds away from taking this in the 3-map sweep.
Zelsis opting to use the run it back in that situation, as it looks like we're in a bit of a pause, have teams work things out, talk through things as V1 again start to feel the pressure of what's before them, of what's in front of them. Sentinels just, I mean, really a couple of brush strokes away from a masterpiece in the grand finals, potentially a 3-0 sweep. And for V1, as much as Sentinels have been able to establish that additional gear, V1 have kind of lacked in some regard. So I think it's really a tale of both tapes here, a tale of 2 tapes as these 2 teams match up. And even, Dan, you can look at it a bit more. Zelsis, again, using that run it back in that previous round in a 2v5 with the pistol. Now he doesn't have it going into this round. 5 seconds left. Oh, it's a gamble, and it's a great guess, Dan. Look at that. Everyone is on A.
Standing ahead.
This is going to be a bloodbath on this A site. We've got Sentinels looking to just bulldoze, and once again, they know the shenanigans from Vanity, but the timing's not good. Vanity with the timing, with the frags, is going to be Sentinels now reeling in pain from that one. They may have to try to back away, but version 1 are not going to give them any ground to do so, finishing them off, giving them no option but to fight, and there is no fight left. Dapper's going to go down, and that's what you want to see from version 1. You know,
not just what you want to see, Dan, what you need to see in that moment, right? Like, take the pause, get a plan together, and just gamble, right? When you're down 2-0 in a series like this, when you're down 4 rounds, when you're looking at defeat, you've got to roll the die, and fortunately, it lands on exactly what they needed. They dial that up, and they pick them apart. And you mentioned even understanding Vanity's shenanigans through smokes. He was able to get exactly what he wanted anyway.
He found the timing, and, well, Sentinels, they're going to be in an interesting position here. This is a 3-player setup towards B long. Version 1 are investing heavily here, thinking that maybe Sentinels will switch things up for a fast timing towards that B site. And the drone's going to see nothing. I think it just killed 1 player, but look at the wrap coming through from Sentinels! They're going to swing straight through mid into the B site, and just as they got dominated in that previous round, but Penny's coming back into it. There's 1 left to go. It's sick, and Penny has 4 bullets to play this one. And they are going to encircle this position around B long, and Penny is looking for the timing, but Penny knows that it's up to Sick to get the spike and plant it. So that's some extra information. There goes the timing. The recon is going to tag Penny. That gives him the time to get the reload in. And there comes the swing.
Space. The peak was there. Sick backs off. Penny hunting, looking for him. He has to try to get this gunfight. Get the defuse. Penny spots it. Penny gets it. A 4K, and he gets the defuse. Version 1 refused to go away.
Oh my god. Sentinels hitting the timing, hitting the pace through mid. It was one of the best moves they could have made. There's a 3-player setup from version 1 on B long. Mid was 3, and my god, did they capitalize. The Sentinels capitalized on that one. But this guy is pretty damn good. Penny, joining the team. This guy he's been impressing me so much on version 1. And hey man, winning clutches like that's going to bring the energy to version 1 that they need to give them a strong chance, a puncher's chance to topple Sentinels here on Icebox.
And they've got 3 ultimates. They also have an operator in the hands of Vanity. All Sentinels look to test the waters towards B. You see that Viper wall. Really just kind of denying any sort of safe entry. Like you said, there's no way to know, and you have to invest that drone, you have to invest that utility, because there's no way to know if someone's waiting on the other side of the wall. Zelsis has taken all of A. They understand that it's safe. Right behind him, drops a couple of bullets into the back of Tenz's head. They've taken mid control. They know that A is safe. And they've got Sentinels on the back foot, but can Sentinels punch their way out of this?
Yeah, this is a really tough spot, and Spike is B long, so they're going to try to back away, and the push comes through. Version 1 don't want to let them rotate out. They're going to push the issue. They're going to force the fights, and they're going to take every frag so far, push all the way back into spawn. But this might be the haven that's needed for Sentinels. They're able to hold that position for the time being, and this is going to reset things.
Dan, where do you go? Right, like where do you go again? Look at where V1 is set up. There's no place that's safe. The middle of the map's not an option, as we just see, and you know that B wasn't an option as well because of op in the hands of Vanity, and yeah, he wasn't able to land the shot, but
30
at this
seconds
point his
left.
position's been given away. Zom's is a sitting duck.
There is Penny who traded out, and that's going to be another round in the bag for version 1. Again, keeping the pace up high really is showing the confidence, and that's so good to see. I mean, we've all been there. You know, you go through these games, these rounds where you feel like you can't win any of these fights, and it starts to diminish your confidence. You start to become risk averse, and the opposite thing is happening here for version 1. Instead of becoming risk averse, they're taking risks, but they're taking calculated risks. They're remaining confident. They're hitting their shots, and now Sentinels are in a position where it feels like they're really behind. They're still in the lead by a round, of course, but version 1, they're coming back into this one, that is for sure.
Oh, momentum heavily their way, and Zelsis looking for the knockout punch. Aggressive push his way through. Snaps onto Tens. He was a sit and duck. He's going to try to use the rent back to get away, but no, now they're going to know where he is. He gets cleaned up right off the bat. A 4v4. No operator in the hands of Vanity this time.
Ooh, yeah, that's a interesting run it back coming through there from Celsius. 4v4 as the site gets taken. Vanity can't escape. Oh, Shazam runs out of bullets there. That's going to help version 1 ever so slightly, but the spike's going to get planted now. It's going to be down to Effie's, but they're all going to go down very quickly. Sentinels striking back. It was a good opening. You know, we saw this opening from Zelsis, and I almost feel like there was an opportunity for more there from Zelsis, but he wanted to get out of there.
This game really being played on a knife's edge. Again, version 1 refusing to go away. Giving a bit more space defensively. The op back in the hands of Vanity, and look at the investment that they're willing to make. At what cost? Right? Like, look at how much they're willing to give up. A Spectre, a pistol. He's going to have the Bladestorm as well, but you see that Viper's Pit early on coming out from Whippy, and Dan, it looks like Sentinels, they're just going to want to push into this thing. Zelsis. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
He didn't look. He didn't look.
That's painful. Now, the question is, will they go into the operator because of this? This Viper's Pit on A is a strong argument to go to B, and that's exactly what's happening. Vanity, he's got to make the difference. It's one whiff from him. He's able to get out of there, though. But unfortunately, for V1, they really needed a kill here. They're down a player still, and they're going to be playing retake on this B site. Right now, Sentinels know they have the timing advantage to get a spike plant and a post plant position. And the Viper's Pit comes through as well. This is scary.
Vanity has to stay alive, Dan. He has to buy time and wait for his teammates to show up because Effie's isn't there. But it's actually the classic. He waits just enough to get the kill onto Sick. Now they're able to push together from a position of strike. Penny's Blamestorm good for one. Zom's still waiting in his smoke, patiently seeing who he can find as you hear the Empress comes online as well. Zom's good for one. Look at the patience, but no. With 1 health left, he catches the timing just right onto Zom's. The Viper Pit's gonna come down. Penny good for another one as well. Looking for 3. No, Shazam trades it out. Whippy trying to get to the defuse. He's got the op. Shazam in a 1v1, and Whippy does it again.
But there's no time.
Dan.
Oh God, Whippy. That's so devastating. It was so close. And he whipped the operator shot as Shazam swung, and the dash came through, forcing Whippy into that forward off angle with the classic, and just barely not enough time. And the efforts from Penny time and again are coming in to bail out version 1 in these awful positions. And he almost did it again there. Penny is so damn good. And here it is. Version 1 backs against the wall. They lose this round. Sentinels are going to take this in a clean 3-0 sweep in this grand finals. Another trophy added to the cabinet. But can version 1 stop him?
No. Not so far. Whippy gets a lot more than he bargained for as he gets cleaned up. And Dan, like, they don't have great weapons, right? Like, Effie's on a Sheriff as well. It almost seems like a foregone conclusion at this point, and that certainly helps. Celsius is off the board. Tens looking to put V1 away. He gets a kill. 2 ultimates in their pockets. A 5v3. V1 in a brutal spot here. The shock dart comes out as well. Oh, Oh no, just 2 members remaining. Pennity's gonna get cleaned up as well. It's just Effie's with the Sheriff. No less good for one, but no, he gets cleaned up. Ladies and gentlemen, from top to bottom, Sentinels dominate V1, and they are your Challenger Stage 2 champions.
Such a great grand finals from them as well. You have to credit just going from strength to strength. Version 1, they played a really great Valorant, all series long. It never really felt like Version 1 couldn't find a way to recover, that they were truly going to be outclassed. But again, we said it throughout every single map. Sentinels, as good as Version 1 were, they were finding this extra gear, whether it was a strategic response, a tactical response, or a read as to how to deal with what was coming and adapt, or whether it was the individuals in the clutch moments. They just had that little bit extra across the board. Sentinels is a super well-rounded team, so good at adaptation. And Version 1, they did push them here, but they didn't do it enough. Obviously, didn't manage to get it to any sort of map win. And you just have to be in awe of Sentinels' strength and just how deep their strength is as a team.
You really do, and I think you touched on this a little bit, but there really is any player, right, on that roster at any given point in time can turn the switch on, right? And he can take over the round, and sometimes we saw it was 10, sometimes we saw it was 6. Shazam, like, they can all do it, and that's so difficult to deal with because you think you find yourself in a spot where you go, all right, we took care of Shazam on A. Fine, we have some room to breathe. Nope, Tens is there as well, or, again, just to, like, change out the names, or the result is the same. Sentinels from top to bottom just seems like such a complete team, both in their individual prowess and in the way they play the map, the macro decisions that they make, the mind games that they play against their opponents. Sentinels, damn, man, from top to bottom, they're scary.
Yeah, and they have this quality. They have this kind of champion level quality to them, where they all understand. They've all won huge tournaments. They have had so much success in Valorant, despite the fact that they've had also so many challenges as their team, so many hurdles that they've had to get through. But they still manage to be consistent, and we've seen how difficult that is. I mean, there's so many teams that are missing from this playoffs, either in performance or just even getting into the playoffs. Yet Sentinels, time and again in North America, is the most consistent name, and it is only fitting that Sentinels are the team that win this grand finals.
It was such an incredible performance. We're gonna throw it over the desk for them to break down everything that we saw. Veli, she's all yours.
And I'll take her right from you, man. Great casting, by the way, from DDK and Doug. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be a shout out to the Double D. Sentinels are going to run away with the victory in our best of 5 grand finals, 3-0 over Version 1. But at the end of the day, it's not even about that. It's all about just congratulating the teams for making it so far. The replay package is going to come up on your screen, but I'm going to give a shout out to every single one of these players because it's not just one big name. It's not just one big org. It's going to be everyone involved. Shout out to Penny, Celsius, Vanity, Eppies, and Whippy on Version 1. At the end of the day, none of us expected them to come this far, but they made waves. And when it comes to just being great, Sick, Shazam, Dapper, Pins, and Zoms, fellas, Sentinels, they have impressed us, and they have continued to be great throughout this entire time. Even before this event at the last Masters, it's good to see these two teams going to represent us in Iceland.
Oh, I 100%. I am tired to listen to myself say now that at every single event, is it going to be enough for Sentinel? Is it going to be enough for Sentinels? Are they going to be consistent? They are consistent, man. I have to give them that credit, and I have to, again, praise their mental and how they're just able to adapt on the fly, as we've seen in these matches, right? And on this map on Icebox, it's been very good for them to just try to stop Zelsis pretty much, because you had Penny that was playing super well. But Zelsis is unfortunately a little bit more quiet on those 2 maps just because Sentinels had control of rotations and movement throughout the whole series.
I'm going to tell you now, I can't wait to see Penny get loose like that on Jet against these international teams. It's going to be a good one, but we have an interview, a Verizon post-game interview that's going to be coming up soon where I'm going to be able to talk to Sick, and I can't wait. But looking at the overall stats right now, Bach, I mean, all around, we're just happy. There's no disappointments yet. Yes, Version 1 did lose the finals, but still, at the end of the day, you got a great series and a great overall event.
Both teams go to Iceland, which, that's what they're thinking about right now. All eyes, all thoughts on Reykjavik. They're thinking about
the arms out
what it's going to look like when they make it to Iceland and they start competing against these events. I'm really curious to see, like, how hard are they going to prep Like, how many VODs are they going to have to pour through, and how many? I want to see the notebook of the IGL who's writing down all these notes. He's scribbling things down, and he's crossing things off and writing new things. I also want to see, like, okay, as these teams now research the international opponents that they didn't have to worry about until now, how does that adjust what they do in the server? How do they take what they're learning from other teams and say, I like that, I want to apply that to our gameplay? And how does the agent composition for the two teams that qualified Sentinels in version 1 adjust to compensate for what they're going to be matched against and what they think will be successful? Big question.
You know
there.
what? And one quick thing, I just feel that maybe for Shazam, he might need like a second monitor now to add more of these notes for the other 9 teams that are qualifying to Reykjavik and have these notes on this map, this map, this map. I think Sentinels will be prepared for sure.
They're going to be ready. But let's throw it over to the interview with Sick for our Verizon post-game talk. And Sick, I'm going to be honest, man. You've heard me talk about you since First Strike. I've honestly been a big fan of your versatility and your ability to just win no matter what, right?
Thank you.
I could talk to you about your thoughts about, competition and ice and everything like I did Shaz, but there's something that's more on my mind. There's been a lot of talk before this event about just the standings in NA and how it's constantly switching. 100 Thieves didn't make it today. TSM didn't even make it, period. We have a lot of teams that opted out early as well from losses. What is your opinion about the way things are changing when we're looking at top teams? And is there a team that you see coming up as well?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to like the meta. Like if teams don't evolve to the meta, they'll obviously like end up losing. And I think a lot of teams now are really realizing that, and they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and figure those things out. I think that's a big reason why version 1 was able to come to the finals anyway, was because their ability to adapt and change with the meta. It's kind of hard because coming from Counter-Strike, some of these players, like including myself, like don't really understand the fact that the game changes so much at the start. Like you have to really always be changing the way you play and what agents you play. But when in CS, like the nades don't change, obviously. So I think over time, like people are going to learn how to adapt better and like learn from this tournament for sure.
I have a serious question with you, and you don't have to be politically correct if you don't want to, right? Cloud9 Blue made a really big splash here in Challengers playoffs, right? They proved a lot of people wrong. Was there any talk, and I believe that there would be because Tense is on the roster, about how impressive it has been to see that team just skyrocket? Because I'm still shocked about the performance. I thought they were going to go to Iceland with you guys.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with them. I mean, obviously they changed their roster a lot, which like if you're changing players, like to get the best players on the team, obviously you're going to play better than if you just like stay stagnant and like never pick anybody up. But obviously like they have a good coaching staff and stuff like that. So it was expected for them to be at the top of the tournament. Obviously it's unfortunate they didn't make it, but I think they have a good chance of making it in the future.
Yeah, I love the fact that them in version 1 really put out a show like that, right? But for the last question, what are your personal expectations when it comes to Reykjavik? I mean, what do you expect to do, man? What should we see from Sick and the rest of Sentinels?
Like obviously there's no prior experience on LAN for anybody, so I think it's almost like there's no pressure coming into the LAN. I mean, obviously there might be a little bit because it is a LAN, but like with no international competition so far, I think everyone's gonna come in like not really expecting to win or lose. I think it's just gonna be like kind of just like whoever's good on the day, and like I don't think like I'm gonna look too much into how people say Europe is like super tactical and stuff like that. I think I'll just show up and like play like I normally do, and we'll see how the styles clash and stuff like that. It'll be really exciting.
Let the gameplay talk, Sick. That's why I love you, man. I'm gonna leave this last space here for you. Just pretty much give a shout out to everybody out there because you're repping us, man. You have to make us proud, all right?
Yeah, I guess just thanks for all the support, everybody. Like Sentinels gained so much support over the past year and stuff, and it's really nice to be able to stay on top like we have. And I've gained like a huge following on my Twitter as well. So it's just like insane support like that I've never seen in any other game. So I'd like to thank all the fans for following us through all this.
Yeah, Sick. Listen, much love to you and your team. I wish you the best and safe travels, all right?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
No problem.
Shout out to the cat
that was in the background, too. Okay, so this is the thing. Because we work from home, people don't realize we're staring at cameras, right? So, but I looked down at him finally. I saw the cat. I was like, oh, no cat. But, fellas, any thoughts about that interview right there? Actually, Sick is a great interviewer, man.
Yeah. I was I wasn't sure what to expect because typically we get Shazam, but I mean he knocked it out of the park, gave great answers. I think one of the things that I really hit on, or I really heard, that we kind of hit on the desk was talking about the meta adaptation and how the game is constantly adjusting and changing. Like we talked about it before, the game updates like every week. Compare that to Counter-Strike, where you're lucky to get an update every 6 months. You know, we talk about the Krieg era in CSGO, and that lasted for like an eternity. Everyone was saying, please nerf this, please nerf this. You're going to see players continue to switch over from other games, and if they do come from CS, they're going to have to learn pretty quickly that they can't just do one thing forever. And I think that's been the punishing blow that has dealt a lot of teams, or has pushed a lot of teams out of this, not qualifying for the Challengers Finals, not making it to Masters in Reykjavik, was they were unable to adapt and unable to change. And I'm not going to point my finger at specific teams. I think the audience can figure out who those teams might be.
We know.
But they're going to need to figure that out in the long term. They're going to have to figure out how to adjust regularly. And it's not going to be easy, because you might practice and practice and practice, and then like, oh crap, well, all that practice is thrown out. We got to do it all over again.
Yeah, I love the fact that Iceland is going to be meta versus meta, just slapping each other. It's going to be crazy. No one knows what's going to come out on top. But basically, you do know what the flick of the day is, right? Just asking.
What was it again? I think it had to do something with like daggers and somebody that might have a buyout that's like super expensive, especially now that they made it into Iceland, and unfortunately the team that he plays for was so close yet didn't make it. It's gonna have to be tens for sure for the aim lab for today.
The production just throw it up on the screen. Tin showing off as usual. Let him know that when it comes to knives, he can cut with the best of them. And man, he makes it look so easy too, Bach.
Just keep on clicking. I mean, down to one knife, and he hits the fadeaway. He's backpedaling, and he just tosses one out. We'll run it back on loop again so you can see it all over. There's the first 2 kills, and then he'll go out with the tailwind, catch another one, and then watch this kill. He actually ends up down on one knife, and then he just like moonwalks his way out of there and throws out one more knife.
Disrespectful. You can't do that. But so Tin's got the Aim Labs flick of the day, so shout out to him for that. But also I want to give some love to some of the sponsors that made all of this even possible. Without them, to be completely honest, without you guys too, we wouldn't even be here. So if you want to pull plays like Tin's just did, I'm gonna let you know now. I'm new to PC gaming, and I just got me a nice 240 hertz monitor, right? And guess who it's by? Zowie. Zowie, if you don't know what dynamic accuracy is, it plays a big role in gaming. It helps with motion blur, and it makes a difference. You won't know it until you try it out. Make sure you go to Google and type in what is DYAC, and it'll lead you to the right path. That's all you need to know. But fellas, let's bring it back and talk about the bracket actually. A lot of teams came in. 100 Thieves, Envy, Xset, NRG, you name them. And every single one of us had a different idea of who was going to be at the end. Ultimately, it's Version1 and Sentinels. But before that even happened, there were some shocking results. And if you were to pick out a series that really stuck with you, Van Silly, which one would it be?
Oof. I'm sure it's going to have to be that Version1 versus Envy, at least for me. The matchup that actually, against Version1 that got that or against Envy that got that upset, but even getting that win versus Cloud9 Blue, it was like a super big obstacle to surpass, at least for me, against Envy, where it helped them get that confidence into the series against Cloud9 to actually qualify in the end. So big props to Version1 for sure in this tournament. But even before that, Belly, looking at Stage 2, it's also like 128 teams that are trying to fight and qualify to get into this as well, right? So to see that it's down to only 2 teams after how many teams started in the beginning, I think you have nothing but great series from both of these teams for sure.
And on that point, too, it's important to remind ourselves that Sentinels didn't even make it into the first event, the first Challengers. They got eliminated in the open qualifier, losing 2-0 to BBG, which scared a lot of Sentinels fans out there because they're like, oh my God, there is a chance that we don't qualify. And that ended up being true for a lot of teams. Teams that didn't make it this far. One that stands out most obviously is FaZe. You know, that team played so good at Masters, we couldn't stop talking about the Smeeg play. But then
they weren't even here.
There's no Smeeg in here. We didn't get a chance to see what they were able to do.
That's
exactly.
That's the meta, man. It's the meta changing.
Yeah.
It is. So, fellas, we're pretty much going to close down this desk, right? It has been a blast again to work with the both of you. I mean, we started at Masters. I never worked with you before, Bach. But we were in each other's DMs. And Van Silly, you know you are my brother from the start. I'm happy I met you. I want to give a big shout out to Riot, I'm going to give a big shout out to Nurse Shoot Gamers, most importantly, the viewers out there. All of the commentators, the on-air talent, the observers, down to production. You guys are the best, okay? So now we know who's going to Reykjavik here at NNA. Is going to be Sentinels in version 1.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Veli. I was your desk host, your analyst for Bach and Van Silly. We've been doing this since Thursday, and I wish it never ended. But later on this month, we're going to have our very first international event. Make sure you don't miss it. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you all have a beautiful day.
Your purchase could be free when you use your Credit Karma Visa debit card. Free groceries, free gas, or even a free TV. It's called Instant Karma, and you can only win it from Credit Karma Money. Open your account for free in the Credit Karma app. Credit Karma Money. Progress starts here.
Change of range.
Spike is just gonna go down in time. This is an happen.
Great stop there. Oh, dicey. Oh my God, J-Mo, the champion of this one. Oh, Asanai gets the triple off the rocket.